Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. The VA has turned course. They are reversing a lot of controversial moves that have been made over the last few days, weeks, what have you. Here we are today, as of the posting of this, will be March 1st, 2025. Now, before we jump into it, I want to throw on a special thank you to Jump Dude 55. Jump Dude 55, thank you so much for that super comment, super chat thing. I really do appreciate it so very much. So thank you again, Jump Dude 55. All right. Again, the VA has turned course, is reversing controversial moves that have been kind of happening here over the course of the last few weeks. So with that, let's jump into it, and I'll give you the headline here. This is VA begins reversing contract cancellations that support medical care facilities. Now, let's jump into this here. Hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched helps to spread this information, which does a couple things, right? An aware body is a good body, and showing that we're aware is equally important. So the more that we get this thing around, the better it goes. All right, so jumping into it here. One day after the Department of Veterans Affairs celebrated an estimated $2 billion in savings on canceled contracts, the agency began reversing some cancellations that may have affected veterans' medical care and other benefits, according to multiple sources. Now, here's the thing. If you saw or heard about the $2 billion in savings on contracts, the VA's messaging around that, the VA secretary's messaging around those contracts was essentially, look, we got a bunch of contracts out there for folks that are creating PowerPoint slide presentations for us, or they're taking minute notes during our meetings. We don't need to have that type of contract out there. We can basically deal with that stuff ourselves internally and not have that cost burden. Well, turns out that there was some collateral effects. Now, I'm going to throw out there that when you do big sweeping moves, like canceling contracts or firing 1,000 people, 1,500, 1,600, whatever the numbers are, you risk some collateral damage. It's the way it works. So undoubtedly, that's what's happened. So it's important to catch that stuff and fix it as soon as possible. A better approach would be a little more methodical, in my opinion. Take a little extra time and really make sure that you are canceling what can be canceled and keeping what should be kept. All right, so let's jump back into it. So after the VA celebrated a $2 billion with a B dollar savings on these canceled contracts, the agency began reversing some of the cancellations that may have affected veterans' medical care and other benefits, according to multiple sources familiar with the contracts and agency records reviewed. Now, I got this, by the way, on ABC News, and this just came out a couple days ago, and I'm sharing it with you here on the first day of March. All right, so jumping back into it here, there's a quotation here, we are taking in millions of dollars in contracts to create things like PowerPoint slides and meeting minutes. VA Secretary Doug Collins said Tuesday, millions of dollars in contracts for coaching and training. The quotation again, don't feed the line of what DC is wanting to sell you, he added. We are putting money back to veterans' health, back to veterans' benefits, and don't let nameless sources, even senators and House members who want to scare you and the media, who want to perpetuate the line. We're taking care of veterans. Now, let's just throw out there, I get it, right? Everything is super politically charged. Things are happening that have never happened before, good or bad. There's a lot of movement, and with that comes uncertainty. I get that. Now, with that being said, again, I mean, big, massive moves might not necessarily be the most appropriate way to deal with some of this stuff. Just again, my humble opinion. All right, moving on. But the hundreds of contracts set for cancellation include some for legally required technical inspections of medical equipment that produce radiation at VA facilities, including CT scanners, MRI machines, and dental x-ray units. Now, from the conspiracy standpoint, All right, you want to cancel those because you're going to push everybody out to the civilian sector. I don't know. I mean, it could be. Or it could have been an oversight, right? And now they notice that and then they're bringing those back on. Hard to say. All right. Without annual inspections, some of which are conducted by contractors in part to save the agency money, VA staffers are not permitted to use the equipment. Quotation here, we're really good. We're a really good deal for them, said one contractor with multiple agency contracts, including several that were initially canceled and then reversed by Wednesday afternoon. They can't afford to have that done in-house. Canceling the contracts 100% will impact care, a VA official told ABC News. If the machines get serviced or a part is replaced, they need to be inspected as well. Asked for comment Tuesday, a VA spokesperson told ABC News, we're reviewing VA's various contracts and will be canceling many focusing on non-mission critical things like PowerPoint slides, executive support, and coaching. Our review is ongoing and not final. We will not be eliminating any benefit or services to veterans or VA beneficiaries, and there will be no negative impact to VA healthcare benefits or beneficiaries, the spokesperson added. We are always going to take care of veterans at VA, period. Moving on, some of the contracts marked for termination on Monday included contracts to provide employee and workplace benefits services to tens of thousands of VA employees and their families. Others include work overseeing hazardous waste disposal, conducting safety inspections at VA medical facilities, supporting cancer programs and burial services, according to agency records reviewed by ABC News. Again, moving on. Some of the contracts marked for termination on Monday included contracts to provide employee and workplace benefits services to tens and thousands of VA employees and their families. Other include work. I guess it's just a repeated paragraph. Sorry about that. Moving on. Many of these contracts are labeled as some variations of consulting, a sweeping category of federal contracts that the Department of Government Efficiency team has aggressively gone after as part of its efforts to cut wasteful government spending. Quotation here, everyone can agree that there is waste, likely fat, and there may very well be some fraud. Arthur Mabbitt, a disabled veteran and CEO of Mabbitt and Associates, a government contractor with dozens of contracts with VA and other agencies. Moving on, another quotation, doing it in a business-like fashion rather than pure chaos, which is what they're doing right now, would be a better approach, said Mabbitt. Those whose company has not had its stop work order rescinded as of Wednesday evening. Some of that work includes working with VA facilities to make sure expansion and renovation projects comply with federal environmental law. Senator Blumenthal on Tuesday slammed Collins, that's Secretary Collins' previous move to cancel the contract, saying many of those contracts provide critical and direct services to veterans. To say abruptly canceling these services won't impact veterans' care and benefits is another unrealistic promise from Collins, Blumenthal wrote in a statement. Make no mistake, this is just another reckless cost-cutting decision that will harm veterans and taxpayers for years to come. Agency leaders directed employees to begin terminating hundreds of contracts on Monday, with some stop work orders issued that evening. Already, some of those stop work orders have been rescinded, one of several DOGE-led efforts across the federal government that have been slowed or partially reversed by various agency leaders. Quotation here, I like what they're doing. I just think they made a mistake and they need to fix it. One contractor told ABC News about the overall DOGE effort. If it goes quickly, I'll be happy. And if it takes 3 or 4 months, I won't be. Moving on, the VA has already gone through 2 rounds of layoffs. The first affected the 1,000 workers that we've talked about. The second, announced earlier this week, affected 1,400 non-mission critical positions, according to the agency's statement. Some of those terminated employees were asked to return to work days later, workers told ABC News. Other layoffs may be on the horizon. On Wednesday, the Trump administration directed agencies to begin participating for large-scale layoffs and reorganizations and to present plans for doing so to the Office of Management and Budget on by March 13th, according to a memo obtained by ABC News. All right. So the bottom line is that at least what we're seeing here is some pushback from the Secretary of the VA on these various contracts, ones that are questionable. Maybe those ones are still going to be, in the crosshairs, but the ones that are actually really impacting and can potentially impact veterans care, veterans receiving care, the speed of care in which they can receive. All of those things are important and part of the big picture. So we are seeing some pushback, not just from the VA, but others, which I think is a good thing because, look, rushing in is not always the preferred approach, right? Let's have a little bit more of a methodical and thought out plan. Maybe take a few weeks to really dial in what you're going to be eliminating and what the repercussions are. So with that, thanks for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.